Fox, as someone who's been championing you and who's been on your side and rooting for you and defending you in the Marvel vs. Fox debate, you're really making me look stupid right now. Hello everyone, Riley here, and today's movie is Deadpool 2. I, like the majority of people, really enjoyed the first Deadpool, loved the style and the tone that they took with it, the blend of the action, the drama, and the comedy. I thought it worked really, really well, and I was excited for this. I thought the trailers were okay for Deadpool 2, not great, but not bad, so my expectations were still fairly high, and I'm about to get reamed for this review. Woo! So let's start off with the few things that I really enjoyed about this movie. I think by far the best part of it was the relationship between Wade and Russell and the chemistry that Ryan Reynolds and Julian Dennison had with each other. The relationship and how the relationship evolves throughout really works well, and I feel like it had the most heart to it and the most emotional weight to anything in this movie, and it provided for a lot of good comedy because the two of their banter was actually pretty funny. Another thing that's really good about this movie, the action scenes. It's directed by one of the directors of John Wick, David Leitch, so I mean, you would expect the action to be great, but it's clear, it's very interesting, it's visually different than I've seen in a lot of other movies that have come before it, and I thought the action scenes were really tense, really well done. Also, I think a scene that you see in the trailer where they're creating the X-Force, that scene and the two scenes with them that immediately follow, brilliant. Absolutely loved those scenes. I also really like the character of Domino. I wish that she was in it a whole lot more than she was because she didn't actually do anything in the movie, but I liked what I saw enough to be intrigued about the future, but not to really make it seem like she was a meaningful contributor to this film. And also, the end credit scene is fantastic. 100% great. Definitely recommend staying till the credits. It's a great scene. And there were a few quirky, cool moments throughout it, and some of the humor worked. However, that gets to my biggest issue with this movie. Unlike the first movie, the humor almost entirely falls flat. Only about 5% of the jokes I think were actually funny. I was groaning throughout almost this entire movie because the jokes were so on the nose, there was no subtlety to them whatsoever, and they just were very much beating the same beats that the first one took. It didn't feel like the jokes had anything fresh to really do, except for one cameo or two. The cameos were pretty good, but I think that overall the humor wasn't fresh. This movie tried so hard to do everything that worked about the first one, so they did too much of all of them, and the tone was all over the place. You had emotional scenes that were being ruined by terrible jokes that were being thrown in there and got rid of all of the emotional stakes of the movie. So I ended up not really caring about much that happened. Also, I'm sorry, but the acting in this movie wasn't very good. Ryan Reynolds, this is the weakest I've seen Ryan Reynolds in years. I'm sorry, I love Ryan Reynolds. I'm one of the only people in the world who likes Green Lantern. He is great. Buried, fantastic. He's a great actor, but he was not that good in the emotional scenes in this movie. Josh Brolin was okay. I'm just, in general, not a huge Josh Brolin fan. I mean, he's been in some movies that I've really liked him in, but on the whole, I'm just not the biggest fan of his. The Colossus character, I personally thought he was the weakest part of the first Deadpool, and pretty much again in this one, he was kind of wooden, didn't really do anything. And I just didn't think that the way that the character was characterized was very funny or very endearing. T.J. Miller also pretty much failed on all of his jokes, and he really wasn't in this movie at all. But when he was, it was kind of cringeworthy. And I'm just convinced that David Leitch is a good action director, not a good storytelling director, which is why it makes sense that he's doing a Fast and the Furious spin-off movie. Because this movie and Atomic Blonde had great action scenes with no emotional weight to anything really, and kind of unlikable characters who were kind of just bland. And that's kind of how I feel about this movie. Even though I was really rooting for it, I couldn't really get behind anything. It felt like they spread themselves so thin, and with an hour and 51-minute runtime, it needed to be longer because there were just so many things that made no sense because of the way that the relationships were shown during the movie. And some of the things that happened just are completely illogical. Overall, this movie was just very disappointing. It wasn't funny, it wasn't endearing, and it wasn't very emotional. It was just kind of boring. I hate to say it about a movie that's so frenetic, but it was so frenetic that you didn't care about anything, so it just felt like visual noise that wasn't actually going anywhere. So, I know most of you probably feel differently, and if you've seen the movie, drop down in the comment section below what you actually thought of it. And if you'd like to see more of my reviews, don't forget to subscribe, and I will have new reviews coming shortly. Thanks for watching.